Hello, beautiful people. How are you guys doing? It's Alex Mackenzie here with another episode of An Experiment Called Life. And it is Monday, May 8th, and we are here in Monty Lake. So you guys can kind of see out the window a little bit there. We got some lovely trees and water. Where are we at right now? Basically, I'll give you an update. Last weekend, we just did shows in Penticton and Vernon with Comedy for a Cause. So in Penticton, we were at the Cleveland Theatre, and in Vernon, we were at the District Performing Arts Center. So that was those were two good shows. They each had about 250 people at them, so a pretty decent turnout. Pretty fun. Finley came on stage in Vernon and stole the show, which is always exciting. And we had Chris Griffin with us, Sophia Johnson of Thimios Nasiopoulos, and the shows are really, really good. We got a ton of great feedback from them, so it's very fun. This weekend coming up, same group, Comedy for a Cause. We are going to Revelstoke and Salmon Arm. So if you know anyone in Revelstoke or Salmon Arm, let them know we're coming. It would be really, really cool for them to be there. And going to be another great couple of shows. We're just killing it right now, man. It's pretty exciting. Looking back, you're it's been 3 weekends in a row now of my special taping, and then we did Williams Lake, and now we did Penticton and Vernon. Starting to slowly figure out this comedy thing. Just starting to actually get ahead of it, because the booking part is so hard. You have to book so far in advance, and you always feel like you're kind of trying to play catch up to get your weekends all filled up, especially when you first start, because you're you immediately have to get going. But now, dude, I feel like I'm starting to get a bit of a roadmap. You're kind of figuring out how to do it all, how to get all the bookings in order. Very, very exciting times, dude. You're oh, I think the thing is actually going to work. And it's funny, that's actually something I kind of been reflecting on. I don't know if I talked about this last podcast, but my whole goal is just I want to travel the world with my family doing comedy. And already my mom, she's come out every weekend, and she is selling merch and selling booze at all the shows. And you kind of take a step back, and I'm oh, one day we're going to get there. We just got to keep working hard. And then you kind of look and you're dude, I think you're already doing the thing that you wanted to be doing. So make sure you enjoy this, because you're going to look back on this in 10 years and be oh man, this is so cool. Anyway, I think we talked about that already. Something I did want to talk about this week is a thing that I learned from playing hockey growing up. So I think something that's helped me a lot in comedy here is this is kind of my second pursuit. I thought I was going to be a professional hockey player growing up. You just was as a kid, you're just oh, this is what happens. You just start playing hockey, and then you love it, and you become a professional. But I wasn't acting like a professional. I was just oh, I'm just going to do it, is where anyone I know who did make it to another level, it was they were obsessed with the game. They were studying it. They were working hard. They were going to the gym. They were watching their diet. They were, actually actively trying to get better. And I did that at a young age. When you were young, you were always trying to get better. But then you get to this weird point where, it's being cool. The cool thing is to not try. If you're trying, it's uncool. And that's what they would do in hockey. They'd call you a go hard. They're oh, you're such a go hard. And they usually put an R word at the end of that, but you're not allowed to say that anymore. Get me canceled. But they would call you a go hard, and it was what it was is you would not try. And it seemed to be this protection of ego. Because if you actually tried and put in an honest effort and you failed, then it was oh, look, you can't do the thing. Maybe you're not as good as you think you are, and you're actually going to have to put in more effort and work harder to develop to a level that you should be at, or that you believe you're at. But when you don't try, it's it's a protection of your ego, where you can always pretend you have another gear. You're oh, I could do it if I wanted to. I could do it if I really tried. And it's just a way to protect yourself from your own inability. So I learned that through hockey, because towards the end of it, I just wasn't trying. I wasn't putting in a genuine effort. And I was telling myself, oh, I could do it if I wanted to. And then with an athletic pursuit, the thing is your dream dies pretty quick. If you're not there by 18 or 20, you're oh boy, we should go get this job at the mill and start working away on plan B. is where comedy, the nice thing about comedy is, dude, there's like no age limit, you know, like that's also a scary thing, because that means you can chase the dream your whole life and never get there and be like, we're gonna have a breakthrough, and they're like, Alex, your van doesn't even have wheels on it anymore, you need to get a job. You're like, we're gonna be fine. But I don't know, man, I don't think it's gonna all work. It already is. It's amazing. But I just think that's why I'm very fortunate, is like the only reason I'm doing well in comedy right now, and the only reason is because I've been trying so hard. Like I wake up every day, I write for 15 minutes every day. I try write 3 to 5 dumb jokes a day. You're posting online every day, you're doing bookings, you're actively trying to get better, you know, you're watching tape and studying and reading books about jokes and stand-up comedy and joke structure and laughter. And if you stop working that hard, like what my thing is, I guess what I'm trying to do with myself is not think that you're like talented, you know, because you're like, oh, maybe I'm just really talented and I can slack off, which was actually a pretty good example of what happened this weekend. So in Vernon, I didn't have time. Well, it's kind of debatable. I mean, I always think everyone has the same amount of time, but I stayed up late, then I woke up early, so I was tired, and then I spent time with some friends and went for breakfast, and then by the time we got to Vernon, I didn't have much time. I had to go to the theater and set up. Basically what I'm saying is I never went over my set. So generally before a show, what I like to do is I like to write out my set list so I know each and every single joke, what I'm planning on doing. So when I'm on stage, if you know what you're doing, it allows you to deviate from the game plan more. So as long as you know all of your jokes, what the plan is, you can then go off script and talk to people in the audience, kind of, you know, get the show going, try to pump some energy into the room, and then go pop back into your bits. When you don't know your bits and you're just trying to go all over it, like, that's just another thing your brain has to process while you're up there. You're like, oh, this is kind of funny. This joke kind of goes with that. And you're trying to get it all going. But anyway, I came into Vernon unprepared, and I really, really noticed it. I went on stage, and I asked people. I did the same thing twice. I was like, round of applause, who's been to a comedy show before? And then I did all of that stuff. And then later, like 2 minutes later, I'm like, by round of applause, who? And you're like, I did that already, didn't I? Okay, here we go. And then it scared the shit out of me, because I realized I didn't even pick what my opening jokes were going to be, what I was going to go into for material. So then I had to do a bit of crowd work to buy myself time to then get into the swing of things. And it just, like, it's a very good reminder that, like, don't think that you just are talented and gifted and that you can just go up here and wing it. That's not what got you to where you are. And everyone that I can see, like, I'm listening to Will Smith's new book right now. I don't know if it's new, I guess it's kind of old, but his book Will, and dude, the guy's just a workhorse, man. Like, for, like, you know, he's talking about just like everything that you hear successful people say. They're just like, you know, he was like, I found if I could wake up an hour earlier and I worked through my lunch, he's like, that gave me 2 extra hours a week, or 2 extra hours a day. And he's like, you do that for 7 days, that's 14 hours a week. And then he's just like, you know, over the course of a year, that's 1 month. And he's like, if you give me an extra month on anyone, you're never going to catch me. Like, I'm going to take off and be gone. And that seems to be the route to success that most of these people have, is like, it just like work, like all of their hours are accounted for. They're like, I'm doing this, and then I'm doing this, and then I'm doing this. I think the hardest part is figuring out what to do with those hours. Like, I feel like I'm finally getting that routine now. After doing this for 4 years, I'm learning how to actually work and what is like effective use of my time. Because at the beginning, I remember being like, well, what do you do for this whole time? You know, like, even if I want to work 80 hours a week, what am I going to do? Oh, there's our 9-minute warning. You're like, yeah, what are you going to do with all the time? Is where now, like, I've got a very good routine and structure of, like, you know, I wake up every day, I do my writing, and then I do write my joke, and then I'll do, like, my marketing, review all of that, do, like, my social media posting, go to the gym, work on business emails. Like, you're really starting to fill up the days and get the schedule sorted. Anyway, that's the 9-minute mark. We're going to keep these short so that we can keep doing them. And yeah, this weekend we're in Salmon Arm and Revelstoke. If you know anyone in the area, please let them know about the show. It would mean the world to me. The other show we got this month, at the end of the month, we're doing 100 Mile. So anyway, you guys, thank you so much for listening. I love you guys. Take care, and Finley and I will see you next week.